The information in this podcast is for general informational and educational purposes only. Whilst we love unpacking psychology research and evidence-based insights to support wellbeing, this podcast is not a substitute for personal mental health care or therapy with a qualified practitioner. Nothing we say should be taken as individualised advice. If anything you hear brings up concerns for you, we strongly encourage you to speak with your GP, psychologist, or another qualified health professional. You deserve support that's tailored to you. Welcome to This Might Help, where psychology research meets your real life. We're your hosts. I'm Dr. Lauren Rossetti.
And I'm Dr. Kira Hart. We're two Australian psychologists. And on today's episode, we're talking all about Valentine's Day and wellbeing.
Yeah.
So very timely, given Valentine's Day is this week. We'll be discussing the history of Valentine's Day, some research related to mental health and wellbeing in relation to Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And also talking through some strategies if you would like to celebrate Valentine's Day, or also if you don't want to celebrate Valentine's Day. This episode is also for you.
Yeah, we're covering all the things.
Yes.
Fun little episode.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Before we jump in, as always, wellbeing wins and wobbles time. Kira, what's your wellbeing win and wobble for this ep?
My wellbeing win would be I had a friend's birthday yesterday, which is absolutely lovely. We had a beautiful lunch and it was just such a fun day celebrating. And my wellbeing wobble, this is a bit of a bizarre one, but I've just had so many dishes constantly piled up in my kitchen. Like I feel like I'm constantly just like cleaning dishes this week. Like I'll have a meal clean and then like a couple hours later, the cycle's repeating and it's just never ending. So that's my wobble. What about you?
That's like such a life thing though, right?
Yeah.
It never ends.
It never ends.
Yeah, it never ends.
Maybe I've just drunk a lot of tea this week or
Yeah.
just had more dishes than usual.
You should like just wash your mug out and use it again, you know?
I really should.
My wellbeing win is also a social kind of thing.
Yeah.
I had a hen's kind of like bridal celebration-y thing as well this weekend, which was so lovely and very Valentine's kind of related, you know? It just feels like love is in the air.
Yes.
Love is in the air. So that was
Some.
for some. Yeah. For some. Or like platonic love is also in the air, you know? Yeah, it was very friendship, wholesome vibes, even though it was a, you know, it's like a romantic kind of celebration.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, when all of the people are together and you're all celebrating, it's lovely.
Lovely.
Then my wellbeing wobble you witnessed because it just happened before and you got here and I was in the throes of meal prep.
Yeah.
And I thought I was cooking couscous. I don't think it ever clocked in my brain that like the thing I got out of the cupboard was not couscous, but I looked up, you know, how am I going to cook this couscous, the ratio of water, blah, blah, blah. I had the stuff sitting in boiling water and I kept coming back and thinking, this hasn't cooked. You know how couscous like it gets fluffy and you break it up with a fork.
Yep.
You know, I kept coming back and I'm like, oh, it's still not cooked. This is weird. So I put it on the stove and then it cooked. And then you've come here and you're like, oh, quinoa. How that looks great. Or quinoa is so hard to cook. And I was like, oh, I suddenly realized why all of that unraveled the way it did because I was not cooking couscous. I was cooking quinoa. I had quinoa in the bowl just sitting there with water and of course it didn't work. So that was very funny when you looked and you were like, wow, quinoa.
Meal prepping some quinoa for the week.
Yeah, and then it all clicked. It was like all of those things, like those stars aligning in my brain where I was like, this is how all of that happened.
Yeah.
So just a little wobble for my morning, but now I've got lovely quinoa in my lunches.
You can be forgiven because it was early Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And you're not a chef. You're a psychologist and researcher.
Yeah.
And you're a very good one at that. So let's get into today's episode. We wanted to begin with going through a bit of a history of Valentine's Day.
I am so excited about this part because I actually don't know much about any of this and I am ready to be taken through the journey of knowing the history of Valentine's Day.
So Valentine's Day, February the 14th, that we know and some people celebrate today, is celebrated as a modern commercial holiday.
Yeah.
But it's got pretty vague origins. But the history of it is bizarre, and I want to run you through it. So many suggests that it has roots in pagan culture of ancient Rome, also combined with later Christian and secular modifications. So in particular, in ancient Rome, February marked the beginning of springtime and of purification. So
Interesting.
yes, this involved a celebration of fertility. There was a fertility festival called Lupercalia. Lupercalia.
You did really well at having a go at saying that. This is not our typical content, so.
And this is celebrated Feb the 15th.
Interesting.
Young women participated in this ritual by placing their names into an urn, of which bachelors, so men, young men of the time, would select their year's companion. So pick a name out of the hat, and that woman would be your companion for the year. So that was one kind of story of Valentine's Day.
Okay.
Another legend suggests that Valentine was a priest who was martyred on February the 14th for secretly marrying young couples in defiance of the emperor of the time, who believed marriage interfered with their military service.
Okay.
Another potential explanation was that there was a martyr by the name of Valentine. His name wasn't Valentine's Day. His name was Valentine. And he was in prison. I don't know why, but he did something wrong.
Okay.
And then he fell in love with a young girl, possibly the prisoner's daughter. Okay, it's a bit controversial.
Okay.
And she visited him throughout his confinement. Before his death, it is alleged that he wrote her a letter signed off by "From Your Valentine," which is the popular expression that people still write and love notes, like "From Your Valentine."
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a problem that we have a few different stories. There's a few different saints and martyrs who went by the name of Valentine, each of whom there's different legacies and martyrs from, martyrdom stories from. But what we know is that it's a super old tradition, but in modern times, it's been really commercialized. It's celebrated a lot differently. And over the last 10 or 20 years, it's also changed a lot as well in terms of celebration, not only of romantic love, which is what it historically has been, but also of platonic love.
Yeah.
In 2010, there was an episode of Parks and Rec where they coined the term Galentine's Day. And I feel like growing up over the past 10 years, you often see, or women often celebrate Galentine's Day and get together with their girls and have a night of celebrating their friendship and platonic love. But that's a pretty recent phenomenon in terms of Valentine's Day celebrations.
Yes.
That's, I guess, a recap of the bit murky, odd history of Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And today we wanted to discuss some of the academic articles on the effects of Valentine's Day on psychological well-being.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, where are you kind of sitting with, what are your initial thoughts on, is there an effect on Valentine's Day and psychological well-being? What have you seen? What have you observed?
It's a unique experience probably for us in Australia with Valentine's Day, because it's a very traditionally American kind of commercialized holiday.
Yes.
Where it's really big there, kind of like Halloween as well, which has also become a lot stronger in Australia
Over recent years.
Yeah, like the last 10, 15 years maybe. That's just like ramped up our adaptation of American holidays.
Yeah.
So I think there's less strong attachment to Valentine's Day for Australians, in terms of, like, you'll speak to lots of people who, like, the day would pass and
Yes.
they wouldn't be phased. Yeah. But then I think increasingly we're becoming more attached to these holidays. Yeah. And I find, I guess I think in terms of psychology connection, so like Valentine's Day and well-being and mental health, my initial thoughts are that it increases comparison a lot, because there's a lot of opportunity for this like publicizing of love and
displays of affection.
Posting
it online.
Yeah, and there's like a very significant tie of that with social media use, and we know how related that is with the social comparison.
Yeah.
So I think like that's a big area where you could see a negative effect on mental health and well-being because it's just sparking some of that opportunity for social comparison. But then on the other hand, like you said, and I was recently somewhere and like in a shop, and their advertising campaign around this like February time was all about Galentines. It wasn't about Valentines. And I thought that was quite fun.
Yes.
And I think there's elements of that in terms of an opportunity for building or deepening friendship connection and celebrating friends and platonic love that has potentially positive effects on well-being, because it's just another opportunity for that connection.
I agree. Prior to diving into the research for this episode, when I was thinking about Valentine's Day, I didn't think that there would be a massive relationship between like mental health outcomes and celebrating Valentine's Day or not celebrating Valentine's Day. Thinking personally and mindful, I'm a sample size of 1. But yeah, it's not something that I'm typically affected by, but I was kind of interested to see if there was any like gender differences or differences between different age groups or cultural differences between celebrating Valentine's Day and wellbeing outcomes or not.
Yeah.
So let's get into the research.
Yeah, there's not much.
No,
we should say there isn't a big giant psychology research collection on Valentine's Day.
No, not at all. In fact, very minimal.
Yes, very minimal. So this is what we have available, plus the psychological theories and the psychological understanding and the rest of our knowledge about how just psychology works.
Yeah.
Sprinkled throughout.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's unpack it.
There is this one study, again, limited research.
Yeah.
This study is called Do the Valentine's Day Blues Exist? A Legacy Report on a Purported Psychological Phenomenon.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of the pop psychological phenomenon of Valentine's Day blues?
Not really, but I can kind of gather from the name.
Yes. So Valentine's Day blues, it's not like a research or like a
psychological phenomenon or anything.
In psychology, no. But it's the notion that Valentine's Day can be distressing for people. Like other holidays, like Christmas, there's maybe social pressures.
Yeah.
There's stresses that come with it.
Yeah.
And for some people, it can be an emotionally difficult time.
Yes. So this article touches on a few things. It's again one. We've got such a small sample size of research, but there's a few key points that are kind of interesting to discuss in relation to Valentine's Day now. This article was published in 2022, which is not very long ago, but the data's from 2004. So it's
super
quite
old.
It's a bit outdated, but essentially they surveyed a big sample of people, and they of all different genders, and they were asking them about their experience, or I guess their mental health. So, features of depression or anxiety, rumination, stress, different things after Valentine's Day. So it was in the coming weeks after Valentine's Day had passed. And they're asking them, about their mental health, and a few other questions about their experience of Valentine's Day. Like, did they receive a gift and
Did they get chocolates, a big teddy bear? I don't think they were that specific in their questioning, but if you receive a Valentine's Day gift.
Yes. So from this, there's a couple of interesting points from the article. One of them is that the receiving of a gift, so whether people received a gift, that essentially spurred some mental health related impacts. So for those who didn't receive a gift, they may experience distress or more of those negative mental health effects after Valentine's Day. And that seemed to last longer for women than in men in terms of experiencing some of those symptoms. They also kind of talked, I guess, about the concept of those who were older. So in this sample, they talk about those who were aged over 40 that had less of an impact. So kind of the mental health effect or the the impact of Valentine's Day at all had less of an effect for those who were older compared to those who were younger, which I think is interesting. There's a few things to chat about in this article.
So that's what the paper found, again, based on data from over 20 years ago.
Yeah.
What are your current thoughts? Like, do you think people experience overwhelm, or some people experience overwhelm in relation to holidays?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. I feel like we've discussed them before with the, I guess different days where, there's a lot of things going on. With Valentine's Day, there's a few parts of it that might affect people's mental health and well-being.
Yeah.
One of those, which is an interesting concept from that article around like receiving or not receiving a gift. And this, I believe, has changed shape over, the last however long, where social media has really kind of spiked. Social media use has spiked. And then also in Australia, Valentine's Day is becoming a bit more of a holiday. And so you're seeing it everywhere.
Yeah.
And you're seeing the display of gift giving and very public displays of gift giving. They're in your face, particularly if you're on social media during this time. So I can imagine, and I'm sure I've experienced as well, when you go online on Valentine's Day and your feed and your stories are just full of like giant bouquets of roses and like, extravagant dinners and like gifts and different things. And I think if you're in a relationship and you don't like participate in Valentine's Day, or that's like the gift giving element is not something that you're doing, you can then be spurred to engage in this comparison, this social comparison, because it's like, oh, well, I've seen 20 people today all posting these like giant flowers or roses or chocolates or whatever it is. And we've actually not done presents for Valentine's Day, or we don't celebrate it. And then this comparison about relationships. So I guess that's just in the context of, someone that's in a relationship or partnered comparing to other partnered people. But then also there's the experience of being single or maybe not celebrating Valentine's Day at all, and then making that comparison too.
Yes, like if you're single and really wanting to be in a relationship, and you check social media and see all these public displays of affection, and you're really wanting that for yourself, like that can be quite difficult, seeing that comparison between what you want to have and the reality of not currently having that or celebrating it with a partner.
Yeah, and it can bring up these interesting thoughts and like responses. So, if you're in a relationship and you don't typically celebrate Valentine's Day, or it's not a big deal, like for a lot of people in Australia, it's like we haven't necessarily grown up with Valentine's Day being a concept. Like our parents probably didn't do Valentine's Day gifts and that kind of thing. Like it's more of a recent, as you said, like a super commercialized holiday. But then it can create these interesting scenarios where, people are in a relationship and then there isn't a Valentine's Day gift, and maybe that wasn't even a discussion or a thing that was expected. But then by seeing all of these displays on Valentine's Day, it might create feelings of, resentment, or like spark even an argument, or like a little hiccup in the relationship, because suddenly you're seeing all of these things and thinking, wait, should I have that? Or should this be my experience of Valentine's Day? But it might not even align with the values of yourself and your partner to be participating in like a commercialized holiday. But then you experience this even like unintentional pressure or just stress related to a holiday that maybe you don't necessarily subscribe to.
Yes, 100%. I also thought it was interesting that those older in the paper were less likely to be affected by Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And this makes me think back to that concept of milestone anxiety, which we've spoken about on the podcast before.
Yeah.
But that's the idea that there's these societal constructs such as marriage and achieving certain milestones by certain ages.
Yeah.
And it makes me think that, you know, those younger in their 20s and 30s might have more pressure or feel more pressure on themselves for Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Because they're consuming content of peers, friends who are, you know, maybe engaged and celebrating Valentine's Day with a long-term partner.
Yeah.
And they're making that social comparison to milestones that they want to have achieved by that point, but they haven't.
Yes.
And obviously that causes psychological distress when we experience that milestone anxiety.
Yeah. And I don't think it's a long leap or stretch to say that for those who are, like you said, wanting a relationship, or that's like that's something that they're working towards. That's, you know, something they're thinking about at the time. That then if they're seeing all of these things on social media that day, it would bring up those feelings.
Yes.
Yeah, because you can't escape it. Like you go to the supermarket and there's like the giant sections of roses and cards and all the rest of it. Yeah.
So there's clearly situations that some people can have negative mental health effects from Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Or the celebration of this holiday brings up social comparison and maybe feelings of loneliness, and that negatively contributes to mental health.
Yes.
On the flip side, there's also positive mental health benefits of Valentine's Day.
Yeah, there's things that can be good
There's things
about
that
it.
can be good, and let's chat about them.
Yeah. So I guess in general, there are the, you know, positive experiences of celebrating love and connection, of, you know, the kind of social opportunity to share and spread love on Valentine's Day, that just in general psychology research have benefits on our mental health.
Yeah, and it's important to note that love and connection doesn't just have to be romantic love. There's so many mental health benefits from celebrating the love and connection of platonic love, and celebrating your friends, or familial love and celebrating your families. And it doesn't have to be a romantic partner.
Yeah. And we know just in general research, and I'm sure we've spoken about this before on the podcast, is that, you know, strong loving relationships that feel stable, and when there is that also like reciprocity within friendships or within romantic relationships, that has positive impacts on our mental health and well-being in general.
On Valentine's Day, it's very common for people to express love and express their gratitude. And I know we've spoken about gift giving, but sometimes this can be a nice handwritten card or a nice text message someone receives.
Yes.
And there is psychological research that highlights the benefit of expressing gratitude. Like, you know, we know about all the studies about writing in your gratitude journal, but also telling someone, hey, I'm really grateful for you. Thank you so much for all the love and support you've shown me. And taking Valentine's Day as a time point to express your love and gratitude for people can be really positive for your mental health and well-being as well.
Yeah.
And it improves your relationship satisfaction, which is awesome. Letting people know that you appreciate them and you are grateful for them helps strengthen connection between people.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yes, it is great. Yeah. And I know there is obviously a lot of discussion about like, you don't need to have a day, or it doesn't need to be about one day, which yes, absolutely. Like we want to be celebrating our friends and our, you know, romantic partners or whoever in our lives, you know, consistently throughout the year. But it is often, like you said, a point that comes up in the year or an opportunity to like spark that, you know, it might spark like the opportunity to write a letter of gratitude to a friend, or to give someone a call, or to book in, you know, your fabulous Valentine's Day celebration where you have the opportunity to really like bask in that experience. So even though we know it doesn't all need to be left to one day.
Yeah.
And like a lot of people will say, "Oh, you know, it's Valentine's Day every day, or we're celebrating our love every day," which is also important. There's obviously benefits of having an opportunity where you're reminded about that and you get to, you know, express those things.
Yeah. And we know this is true not just for romantic love, but also platonic love.
Yes.
And connections like close friends. We know that this supports our emotional resilience. It reduces stress and provides a really strong buffer against loneliness and those mood disorders like depression.
Yes.
So using Valentine's Day as an opportunity to express your love for your friends and show that deeper connection with your friends can be a really great thing to do as well.
Yeah. And Valentine's Day also, as we've said, there's some struggles to it or some elements that make it tricky. Like it is really commercialized. And then obviously those, you know, there can be those financial pressures and other parts of it that can make it a time that people don't want to participate in or celebrate in, which is also completely fine.
Yeah. Like try and get a booking at a restaurant on Valentine's Day. Good luck. Or even just going out to the shops. Like they will be busy on Saturday night. Is Saturday Valentine's Day? I think so.
Yeah. And there's pressure to buy things and all of those parts which add unique pressures or challenges even for the mental health experience of Valentine's Day.
Definitely.
But if you're interested in celebrating but that doesn't fit or feel right, it can also be things on other days and other times. Yeah.
Get your girls together and celebrate Valentine's Day in March. Who's stopping you?
No one.
No one.
Yeah. Set up a monthly Galentites.
Given we know that Valentine's Day can support or also strain psychological well-being, depending on your situation, cultural influences, gender, relationship status, etc., we now want to talk through some strategies or ideas for boosting your well-being this Valentine's Day.
Yes.
And we'll cover a variety of different scenarios. So first up, if you're single and you want to do something, you want to celebrate Valentine's Day.
Yes.
The evidence shows that connecting with people and expressing gratitude boosts your well-being.
Yeah.
And this doesn't have to be romantic connection, as we've said numerous times this episode.
Yes.
It could be a great idea to plan a catch up with your friends or family and get together with those that you love and do something enjoyable that night.
Yeah.
We know that expressing connection is also really positive for our mental health. So send someone a nice text or voice note. Voice note? Why does my voice go up when I try to say voice note?
Can you send me a voice note and it's just you saying that over and over to me? That's what I would like from you for Valentine's Day.
Okay, I can do that.
Thank you.
Oh yeah.
Yes, it's some gratitude.
Yeah. Express gratitude.
Yes. There's also the scenario where you're really wanting to do something for Valentine's Day and celebrate it, but it can seem like all of the people in your life are doing partnered Valentine's Day things.
Yeah, everyone's booked and busy. No one's free.
Yes, but you still want to celebrate something that night. And people can try things like, you know, booking in to do something new, you know.
Try a class that you've wanted to.
Yeah.
Pick up a hobby or something that you really wanted to try but you haven't had the time to do.
Yeah.
Engage in that self-care.
Yeah. Indulge in like the self-care you don't normally do. Just, having some opportunity for that real like self-reflection, self-love.
Treat yourself.
Absolutely. And if it's feeling really hard on that day specifically, you know you're going to experience some of those negative mental health effects from the self-comparison, then you can also think about your feed, like your Insta feed, your TikTok or whatever social media platforms you're on, and thinking about whether muting, logging off, deleting the app for a couple of days, like would that be helpful? If you're someone where you know you're going to go on and then you're going to feel some not good feels.
If you're prone to social comparison, just maybe have a digital detox for the week.
Yeah.
And you don't need to check up on what so-and-so from your high school is doing
Yeah.
Saturday night for Valentine's Day. That's
Yeah.
not going to make you feel good.
Yeah.
So don't do it.
No. And a week feels like a very long time, but
It does.
but maybe like the day, if that's more achievable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if Valentine's Day does feel heavy for you, and this can be the case if you're single or with a partner, like sometimes you could be in a romantic relationship, but it's still a really tough day.
Yeah.
Maybe you're trying to work out if it's the right romantic relationship for you.
Yeah.
There's some uncertainty.
Yeah.
Or
even like we were talking about before, you don't necessarily participate in Valentine's Day, or it doesn't align with the values of you and your partner, but then you're still experiencing maybe some distress or some feelings about seeing everyone else with these like grand displays and then comparing your relationship.
It can be helpful to name what's happening to you. So notice the feeling and name it. Like, I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling like I'm comparing myself. I'm irritated that the shops are really busy and I can't get a booking at my restaurant.
Yeah.
And know that it can be a really tricky day for some people. Like, you're not alone. Some people find this holiday, as many holidays are, quite stressful.
Yeah. We also know that Valentine's Day can spark some of that milestone anxiety, particularly if people experience that milestone anxiety around being in a relationship, being married, and doing that by a certain stage in their life. So it can spur on some of those feelings about, you know, for example, I feel behind, or I feel like this should have happened by now, and those types of thoughts. But again, thinking back to, this is a day that might create some of those feelings, but we're all on our own timeline and we're all making progress at our own stages. And thinking, or zooming out away from that comparison.
Love that.
Where we can.
Love that. If you want to opt out of Valentine's Day completely, that's so fair.
Yeah.
You do you. And you are allowed to treat it like any other Saturday. It doesn't have to be celebrated if that's not something you want to do. Many people, as we said, skip the day, don't participate, or just celebrate on another day when it's less busy. Disengaging might actually reduce stress for you, particularly if you don't like crowds. And there's nothing wrong with not going on social media and just disengaging from on the online posts that day.
Yes.
And we know that our emotional well-being is best when we act in line with our values. So if Valentine's Day isn't for you, don't celebrate it. You don't have to go along with the social script of celebrating Feb 14th.
Yeah. And if you're in a relationship and you're wanting to celebrate Valentine's Day, it does align with the values. You're into it.
Yeah.
You're loving Valentine's Day. We know that things are often not about the big gestures and about kind of those commercial aspects of Valentine's Day, but it's really about deepening that connection, feeling seen, showing gratitude within a relationship that strengthens relationships in general. So, like we've said in all of the scenarios, expressing gratitude to anyone, romantic or otherwise, naming, and I guess we've said expressing gratitude as that's not very specific.
A broad statement.
But it can be really being quite specific about what you appreciate, in your partner, in your friend, in a family member. I am really grateful for this particular thing that you've done for me. I'm really grateful for this way that you make me feel, or this way that you show up for me in our relationship, XYZ, but being specific rather than just saying I'm grateful for you, which is nice, but we can add some detail. We can get a bit more specific. We also know that the connection and the meaning is more important than kind of a performative display as well. So it might be that the, Valentine's Day celebration is engaging in something you both really love to do and is meaningful to you, like cooking a meal that you really enjoy, or, going on a walk in a place that you really love, rather than kind of it being an expensive display of gifts if they don't have a lot of meaning or like significance to either person in the relationship.
Yes. Yeah. So regardless of your relationship status, whether you're single, coupled, in the early stages of a situationship and you don't know where it's going to go, Valentine's Day can be a great reminder of the importance of expressing love. That can be platonic, romantic, familiar love.
Yeah.
And, you know, the mental health benefits of showing gratitude towards others.
Yeah.
It can also be a great reminder for self-love.
Yes.
And, you know, being grateful for all you've kind of achieved in the year and showing yourself that self-care and kindness that you deserve as well. So why don't you take yourself on a date for Valentine's Day or celebrate yourself in some way?
Love it. I love when you get in your sappy, sentimental, self-love like brain mindset. I love it.
Every now and then you need to.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. So this has been a great unpacking. I mean, in my personal opinion, I found it entertaining for myself. I don't know if the listeners will agree, but I've had a good time. I've
prepared me for Valentine's Day.
Yeah, I've liked hearing about it. I think it's particularly a very good reminder that these things can create a lot of external pressure and we can feel a lot of pressure to engage and participate, and sometimes we don't have to. But there are nice ways to kind of take the you know, feeling of love and gratitude for others and run with it. Yeah.
So we're wishing you all a great Valentine's Day. We're hoping you celebrate lots of self-love.
Yes.
On Valentine's Day.
Or don't if you're not interested. Up to you.
Or opt out. That's totally fine as well.
Yes. As always, there will be references. They're minimal. As we said, there's like barely any evidence, but there will be things in the show notes. There will be resources and helplines. As always, if you need any extra support, the lines to go to are in there.
We are on social media at This Might Help Podcast.
Kira got the handles right.
On Instagram, TikTok, and the video version is also available on YouTube.
And we'll catch you next week for another episode.
Bye. Thanks for listening.
This podcast was recorded on Wurundjeri land. We acknowledge and pay our respects to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as the traditional custodians of this country. We honour their knowledge and resilience and the ongoing impacts of colonisation on wellbeing.